Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Crypt Paints, where I am doing another kind of little tutorial where I'm going to cover a couple of things, specifically different metallic paints and how to use them, and contrast paints, which I do have Citadel's brand of contrast paint, and I've got a nice little selection. I could have some more, but I don't. And I also have the speed paints by Army Painters. Why is that so hard for me?
I'm just happy I remember.
Every time. It's like I want to say Warhammer, and it's not. It's Army Painter, which is a lot of my paints. But I do want to test out these new paints that I just got from Monument Hobbies. I just got some of their Pro acrylic. Oh. So I just grabbed a nice little small, can't grab these other bottles, a little small selection, just 5 bottles of different shades of red, because my reds are pure red and dragon red, and then blood. I have like 5 different shades of blood, but then I have pure red and dragon red, and that's it. So I grabbed some reds so I could test them out, and I was really excited because I got a sticker, which is silly, but I love stickers. But it's nerd shit. You wouldn't understand. I'm like, I want to staple that to my forehead and just walk around like that. So I do want to test these out on something just so I can see how the paint flows and stuff like that. But that will come after I finish doing all the things I said I was going to do. So I do want to kind of stick to metallics and contrast tonight, but I am absolutely happy to answer questions regardless if they're on that subject or not. I'm happy to answer questions.
It says, I'm guessing originally like 4 models that were at the probably.
I think that's kind of where they got their start, was different war game. They were doing paint specifically for war gamers. And
Civil War.
Yeah. A lot of those like battlefield war games, like reenactment games and stuff like that. If you go to Army Painter's website, you can see a lot of those influences in their site and in their turf and all of those kind of things. So, I mean, it makes sense. I don't actually know, so I kind of feel bad considering how much I love their paint. Don't know why they're named what they're named. I also don't care because I love their paint. So, anywho, I was actually really pleasantly surprised. I do want to mention this. So one of the things that Warhammer does is they will, if you buy a set of paint, they'll send you the little BBs to put in your paint bottle so that you can help shake it. This one, I don't know if you can hear it, but this one actually already has it in it. And it also, I don't think this is the one I opened, sealed. So if you're like me, your paint is safe until you actually open it. So I thought that was pretty cool that it's actually sealed shut. So my gargoyle, wow. So tonight is not it's so. My gargoyle doesn't really want to stay on my stand. So I am working on getting him laid out and standing up properly and behaving himself.
And which says they are lovingly supported off of Tabletop RPG. 75%.
So PT in Discord had mentioned this company, and they have a really good brush soap, which I didn't grab, but I did want to test out some of the paints because I'd never had their paint brand. Okay, I think my gargoyle is on there. Okay, first things first, before I start on any of the paints, I do want to describe what I did with these models to prep them. So for the Valkyrie, oh my gosh. Okay, guys.
In the speed, right below you.
Yes, I think all of the English has left me, so I think we're done for tonight. Night. So for the Valkyrie, you can actually watch the speed paint on YouTube or right there on the screen. You can kind of see I went through and did all the details, all the fun things.
Whoop-ass girls. Damn one.
Yes. Oh, and I know that in the speed loop you can see that I'm painting under her shoes, but I did that really like that very classic stiletto look and put the red underneath her shoe as well, just because it's awesome, right? So with her, I got her completely done except for the metallic on her helmet and on her armor. She's got chainmail here, and then she has a plate shoulder pad, and then chainmail on her arms again. So one of the things I really like to do with metallics on stuff like this is I'll paint it a flat base color, and I'll leave it to where I've just barely dry brush those edges to where it's just a kind of a really small shine. So go ahead.
Same way it says you're.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to show this particular model on the speed loop, is because if you watch the speed loop, you'll see I'm just smashing colors and it looks like crap. I'm putting the colors where I like them and just smashing them together and wet blending as I'm going. And you'll see I work really quickly. And even when I knock her off, I literally just picked her up and I just kept going because I was wet blending. I was not going to try to stop and get her back on her base. So it looks all weird and looks all funkified as I'm going along doing the wings. But as soon as I start dry brushing that white over the top of everything, it pushes all of those blends down and you get that, it just smooths it all and makes it all look good. But this is like the perfect example of when I say just keep going and it'll look there. It'll get there. It doesn't look good all the time while you're working, but it will get there. So that's what she is. This guy, I had intended to use the contrast paints on him. He is straight up resin, no base coat, no nothing. He's just resin. Because I wanted to show you guys how different things react differently. He has fallen over again. I might actually just have to glue him into his base to be able to glue him. So for him, what I did, I think I'm going to have to heat leaning, not line. Go. So for him, what I did was I took him and this guy and took him outside and spray painted them. So I did a gray spray paint, a nice kind of a rich gray from the bottom. And then I did white down from the top. So you get these different tones that happen. So I'm literally going to use contrast paint on him, and that's it. Are we on autofocus? Because it seems like I'm focused over here and not here. So
It restarts the computer.
So that kind of happens.
Yep.
I think it's fine where it is. It's just getting it to focus. And this little guy. Oh, actually, it's zooming in. It's fine.
Zoom in.
Face looks
good.
Yep. Okay, now that we got the technical stuff aside. So with this guy, I did a little bit, kind of a 3-step process when I was coating him outside with spray paint. I went straight up black from underneath. Then I took the same gray that I used on him, and I came at kind of an angle like this, and I twisted him around. I didn't tilt him or anything. I just went around like this, and I kind of kept that same angle. Then I went white, and I went straight down from the top. So that basically when I put the contrast paint on him, he's going to have a multitude of shades happening with just basically 2. So between spraying these two guys, I think I was outside for maybe 10 minutes. And then you'll see how quickly contrast paints can make these guys look tabletop ready. So I am going to glue little Mr. Jerk onto his base, which will make his base a little bit more difficult to paint, but I'm not terribly worried about his base tonight anyway. Because otherwise he's just going to keep flopping around and I'm going to get angry quick. So I'm going to fix this. But this is the same reason that I painted the Valkyrie's base first. Was because she was doing the same thing. I couldn't get her to stand up on her feet on my little stands. So I got her base done and then I was able to glue her down and have her be secure on her thing. I use my little spray, but again, I'm going to spray off screen. I'm just spraying over my trash can. Still managed to get it on my finger. Cap is a little loose. I do like it. Okay. Very, Lord of the Rings Hobbit feeling to me. The music, yeah.
Wow.
Excellent. Alright, the last guy to get standing here. Ugh. Old one's off. I so love my little handles that Ty made me. They're just so comfy, and they're so pretty. Yes, very, very, very much so. It was ridiculously stupid. I don't know if you want to explain that better than I can.
So what happened? First 3D printer. We bought all of that. All when we do this thing. So up and unfound. So they just try themselves and then
Yeah.
buying it. Yeah, it's like Mike's name.
Okay. Well, I am going to start on this guy. And for him, we're going to use the speed paints, which behave the same way as contrast paints from Citadel. Speed paint is basically Army Painter's version of contrast paint. So they pretty much do the exact same thing. Oh, shit.
I have a mic again.
Sorry. So basically, I'm going to use orc skin and hardened leather. And the nice thing about this is they show you, like, this is what the lightest area is going to be, the medium area, and the darkest area. So here you have your layer paint, your highlight paint, and your shade, all in one paint.
So basically what happened with the filament is just that it had been unwound, and the first time Dawn and I used it, we didn't realize it had been, which is why the rainbow handles didn't work. I remember announcing it on stream that, well, we didn't get it. One of us said that, right?
Yeah.
This time we got it because Dawn and I worked together to get the rainbow filament spooled back on correctly. One of those crappy things if you drop it or something and it unwinds on you. Bleh.
Yeah, we just basically sat there and jabbered while we twisted filament. So Just because I always have my brush wet, I dipped it in water and kind of wiped it off, and that's it. I didn't add any water to the paint or anything like that. See how it's cooling in here? I do want it to sink into the crevices, but I don't want it to be that thick. And this is a large model. I'm going to switch to a larger brush. Because I want coverage. That's no good. Bear with me, folks. So picky with my brushes. Okay, that's better. Yeah, so, I mean, the point of this is exactly what it says its name is speed paint. And again, it's contrast paint, speed paint, they're the same thing. Just a different brand. Like ordering a Whopper or ordering a quarter pounder. Just depends on where you're getting it from. But the gargoyle, I am going to actually use other speed, or the contrast paints from Citadel. We will use them all. This is slap it on there stage. And actually with speed paints and things like contrast paints and speed paints, slap it on there is actually the only stage. You can absolutely come back and do your own highlights and add a few little details here and there. But it really is meant to just throw it on there and call it good. And if you, like I did, spent a couple of extra seconds spraying it with a couple of different shades, it'll already add some more depth to it in the first place. Yes, I definitely was of the same opinion, Sam. Whenever I started using it, I was like, I feel like I'm cheating every stage. But here's the thing, is doing something like this will get you to the finer details. I can spend, an hour doing all the little details and adding some, going the extra mile and still get this miniature done faster. Or, if you're that DM that you just want to splash a little bit of color on the table, this is a really quick way to get all of those horrific battles ready for your players. Because we all know the DM has got a crap ton of work to do. So if they can get a bunch of models done really quickly and add some, an extra layer of flavor for us, I'm not going to say they're cheating. I will say that a lot of the GM is clapping. I will say that a lot of people have had issues with the speed paints reconstituting whenever, like, they let it dry completely and then they want to come back over and do more details. And if they get it wet, it will start, it'll come back to life on them and start moving around. One way to really keep that from happening is after you're done with your speed paint, do a clear coat on it. And then from that point on, it's not going to come back to life. It's protected and you can just do whatever details you have left that you wanted to do in the first place. But I haven't really had any issues with that, to be honest. But you can see how the parts that are drying, you can see that I'm already getting multiple tones of brown happening. So he's not just brown. He would still look cool, just brown. That's what you're wanting to do. Stop moving.
MY says, if you're going to paint over a clear coat, it's matte better than gloss.
I haven't found that they react any differently to taking the paint. So my answer would be it would actually for me depend on the look that I want after. So if I've done this and I know that I'm going to make this tree a sparkly fairy tree and I want everything on here to be shiny, then I'm going to go ahead and coat it with gloss. And then when I add anything else to it, it's already going to stay shiny. So you can see over here that it's like got a really dark area. And then over here it's lighter, and over here it's lighter. So it has different tones that are happening throughout here. And I literally, you guys watched, I just put this coat of brown on here. That's all I've done. So I don't think it matters for the technicality of what you are applying the paint to, as far as what kind of coat you go. I tend to put everything to matte and then go in, because most of the things I'm doing, I want to be matte and then come in with a few highlights of shiny. Like I'll always put gloss on mouths and eyes because they're wet, so they should be. Green. Then same brush. I wash the brown off.
AD says, how come when putting on copper, it seems that it just doesn't cover like gold, silver, or some bronzes?
So I have found, and that's exactly why I've got a multitude of different types of metallic paint sitting over here, because I have found that the kind of paint that I have will directly affect how the paint, or how the metallic paint goes on. So like the Army Painter brand, I find that I can just paint whatever I'm painting and paint it metallic, and I'm good to go. Turbo Dork, I need to put a layer of paint underneath it that will trying to be careful right here. That brand. I need to put a layer of paint underneath it that will kind of be the undertone color for me. And then also this acrylic paint that I bought. It is so thin that it can just be, it really is just adding a colored shine on whatever I'm doing. So if I paint something white and I take, this gunmetal gray and put it over the top of it, it gives me almost an iridescent pearl look. So different paints handle differently. And it seems like, and I know what you're talking about, some coppers just seem like they're not very strong. I tend to use, when I want something to look coppery, I tend to use like a bronze color for my main, and then I dry brush the copper over the top, and that just gives it a coppery sheen, and it's not exactly, the whole thing's not exactly copper, but you still get that copper feel. And I tend to do that with a lot of things that are metallic. I'll take a darker tone than what I want and paint everything that tone. And then take the color or the metal that I want it to actually look like, and simply use that as a dry brush over the top for my highlights. Okay. I've got it all covered. So you can see very quickly we have a tree. Now, I know I said I was going to use 2 colors only on this, but I do want to show one other thing. Let me get my yellow. Because yellow highlights on anything green, anything, living green, makes it really kind of look amazing. So, not even waiting for this to dry or anything. And I'm pretty sure you guys can tell I'm just kind of patting it, not really brushing it. Now, if I waited for it to dry completely, I could actually dry brush a little bit of yellow on top. But when it dries, I'm going to have even more tones happening. You know what I realized? I painted all of the leaves on his wrist brown. Using a little bit of water to see if I can wash it away.
SKD says...
Nope.
You didn't let me finish yet.
Sorry.
What brand would you say is the best to use for copper? Silver, gold, and bronze. So when you put it on, it is there, not having to paint over and over.
I don't know that I have an answer for you. I know that my army painter war paints.
Hi, Dorky.
Hi, Dorky. Those tend to, when I paint it, it's done. One coat and it's metallic. But like I said, it's my personal preference is to use multiple tones on metallic so that I get a really cool effect. Okay, so you can already kind of see how that spot's getting lighter.
Mm-hmm.
So I just give it a little highlight. But still. Treant, done. I don't know exactly how long that took. But that's what contrast paint can do. I've got all kind of different colors showing up and everything else. So we are going to set him back there.
Dorky asks, is that a metal tree?
Like, no, that's resin printed.
Well, contrast tree.
Oh.
Because we're doing metallics and contrasts.
Yes. Yeah. So he is a contrast paint. And technically, I could take these vines that are wrapping his binding these around, their vines. I could actually make them look metal, but I'm not going to because my point was, look how quickly I had him ready. Ow. Hurts.
Yeah, we're also answering questions.
Yes. Yeah.
We're mixing it up.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the... Okay, that hurts. So... Where... I'm trying to find... I don't even see my copper paint, honestly. All I see is my chrome and my bronze. Which actually, when I'm wanting copper, I kind of like this evil chrome.
Samwise that's an amazing idea for a DM, an entire clockwork forest made by a mad wizard artificer. I'd have to agree. That is a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So I'm trying to...
Yeah, really throw the druid for a loop. Dorky Dino gives us.
Alright, so our little turkey dragon here is going to get some shiny leaves. So this is Army Painter's Evil Chrome. But when I want copper, that's kind of the color I go. To me, that's like the best copper I've got. Hopefully you can see. But that's one coat of paint straight on the resin, not clear coated. I mean, nothing else done. So here's a really good so. Oh my gosh, I have got to stop saying that word. This is the gunmetal gray. These paints were like super cheap. I had a gazillion tubes of them for next to nothing on Amazon, and they work really well. They're just not a paint that you can use like what I just did with that, where I would say maybe one more coat of that and it'd be done. This is not that. You can see how dark that color is. But if I brush over here, it's just putting a shine, which is a really nice shine, but it doesn't look like that color at all. It's a darker color, but it's just a really pretty shine on here. So if I wanted it to actually be that color, I would have to put coat after coat after coat after coat. But you can see a drastic difference between that.
Dorky says, I've noticed myself saying so way too much when I go to caption things, especially when I'm trying to explain something. Well, you know what it made me think of is that we intentionally throw so in there in our campfire stories a lot, because we're trying to make it into the character of a person. And I think we do that when we're like, all right, so next,
Okay. So this is Turbo Dorks Metallic. And this is another one that you really need an undershade to make it show up. So you can see on my palette how bright blue that is. And it's just a very light, icy blue. So it works really, really well. One of my favorite things to do with this, especially this blue, is paint something white for snow and then come back over it and just dry brush random areas with this to give it that blue tone that ice will have. But, as you can see, these are all three metallics. And we've got one that's done in damn near one coat, one that definitely has to have an undercolor under there, and one that in a couple of more coats, I would have it looking good. So, damn it.
So
Oh God, I'm going to punch myself in the face. Oh my God. There's a lot of different metallics out there, and they handle themselves differently. So, that yellow is really popping out now. So pretty. But for her, what this color back here, this tube right here will do is exactly what I would love to happen anyway. So I'm going to be dry brushing on here because I've already put a really dark undertone, and what I want to happen. You might want to zoom in for this, babe.
Okay.
Out of play.
Open that thing up again.
Sorry. It's so much fun. It should be way easier to do.
That's all we can do at the higher resolution.
Yeah. Nope, that's fine. But you'll see what I'll get is just a shine on her metal that it's not exactly the same as if you were to just put gloss on here. The whole thing would have a shine, but it wouldn't have varying shine. It's, for lack of a better way of saying it, doing this gives it almost like a glitter rather than just a wet look, because that's what gloss will do.
NY says, move the camera. Old school zoom.
But now I'm out of focus.
I can work on that.
Um, as long as I stay.
Don't move, though. Someone says they were kidding.
Oh, but it works, right?
Yeah. It
So
works
hopefully
so
by-
much better now with the higher resolution. Ugh.
Hopefully by looking at my finger, you can see how little paint I'm actually using. I just don't need a bunch.
Gloves.
No, I am not wearing gloves because I mistakenly let us run very low on gloves for printing. So I am no longer wearing gloves. I've got more on order, but we're dangerously low for printing. So that alone, we're right. I can paint without them. Now that my hands have been under control for longer than they were out of control, I feel a lot better about not having to have them paint with.
Anyone says you need to subscribe to multiple shipments a week of gloves.
Well, so that's actually what happened. Was like, you know what, I'm going to sign up for, the subscribe and save. And then what I like to do is take a lighter shade of metallic and go even lighter. A lighter touch. And to give just a slightly higher spot of highlights. I signed up for the subscribe and save for gloves. And our first shipment was like, cool, we'll ship your first shipment in November. And I'm like, cool, we're almost in November. And I didn't look at the date. Like November 18th. Am I still in focus? Did I go back to the right spot?
I think you're good. Okay. It looks good to you.
So I'm being very particular about where I want the high shine by simply picking out the higher areas. Brush is a little bit too all over the place for me.
A little frayed.
A little bit on the frayed side. So we're going to pick a different brush. A little bit more control. Because she's so tiny, I'm not really dry brushing. Just about it. That's it. Done. So now she is completely finished with just those two little shades, basically, of the metallic on her armor. Because I had that dark tone underneath already, so she is officially finished.
Doesn't that make you feel?
It does. She's been driving me insane. I was specifically saving her for doing live on stream, but oh my gosh, that was driving me batty. So, damn it. All right, one other thing that I wanted to talk about with metallics was I've already done this guy. I mean, you guys, ow. Spikes her.
Spiky.
Just spiked myself. So you guys kind of watched me work on this guy. And what I did was I painted his weapon into a really dark gray. And then I dry brushed the metallic over the top of it. one of my favorite things to do with metallics is to do that burnt metallic look, which usually means a blue into a purple into a gold. So it's a really super simple thing to do. And
Tim White says he's back.
He's back. I love this guy so
yeah,
much.
me too. I can't keep.
But it's a really simple thing to do. And the color tones go from one place. Like they start off with, they go from blue to purple to the gold. So basically I'm going to decide where it's burnt from and then work my way to the other colors. But I'm going to get them all out onto my palette because it's dry brushing, but it's still kind of a wet blend within themselves. I'm just going to use the Equal Chrome, probably enough of that. So now I have to decide. I think we're going to go blue to purple to chrome. So this will be the hottest spot and out. Oh, my nose is itchy. And I don't know where my blue metallic of this disappeared to. It's super disappointing because that was my favorite blue. They just don't even understand. It ran away from home. See, this blue is just really not strong enough for what I want. It's not deep. This is a Reaper blue. Try it instead. But it is definitely a richer blue. It's a sapphire blue. Don't know how I lose paints. Changing brush. Okay, this is annoying me. Every time I put my wrist down, I'm hitting those brushes and I'm setting my wrist on those. A little darker than what I wanted, but it's at least not icy blue. So I'm pressing fairly hard. I'm kind of putting my paint down. And then I'm blending out where those paints are touching. And they absolutely do not need to be perfect. So that is one side of the axe with the colors on there. Don't need to match up, or you know what I mean? This is something that was caused by extreme heat. Doesn't disperse evenly. weapons, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you could have just left the weapon alone, too. Because it looked pretty cool as it was, but I don't like doing that. Chrome, because I clean up the edges of the I will say that they don't really spill everywhere. Seems like I make a mess at the top of these tubes quite a bit. This last piece, I'm just kind of just using the chrome. And I'm going kind of dry brushing really super light-handed over, like basically coming from the outer side down into the center. And I'm intending to hit some of the higher purple areas and some of the higher blue areas. And it does the same thing that happened with the wings, where it pushes those combinations into one piece. But I'm like going over so lightly. One of my favorite color combinations. The other question I get is, how do you know when it's done? When it's pretty. When you are happy, it is done. So, there's that word again. But now he has back. Another thing, gosh dang it, another thing that you can do with metallics. But what if you're never happy?
And Dorky says, but Dawn, that's my secret. I'm never happy.
There are a lot of tricks for that. As an artist, one of our biggest downfalls is seeing a place where we made a mistake and never looking past that spot. Never looking at it as a whole. One of my biggest problems that I have is I get fixated in on this one spot and I make it perfect. And I spend 5-6 hours on this one little thing. And then I look at the whole thing, I'm like, well, so that's when I breaks his mic.
So sorry about the noise. Yikes.
Wow. All kind of things just went wrong with his mic. So basically what I try to do is...
Very sorry.
I know for myself, I will fixate on this one little leaf right here, and I will spend 12 hours doing this leaf. And then I realize the rest of the model is undone, and now I'm exhausted and I don't care. So the way I fix that for myself is I take this model and I set it over here, and I pick up this model that is making me happy, and I do this instead.
Darky says, I have the same problem. Samwise says, I try to see the imperfections as something to practice so I know what to improve.
Yes.
Then I will get annoyed.
But it's one of those things where, one, we have to remind ourselves we're doing this because we love it. We're doing this because it makes us happy. So if this is not making you happy, put it down and do something else until you are happy. One of my biggest things that I've learned is, if this isn't working, I set it down, I pick up something simple, and I do this, and it makes me happy, and it gets me back in the mood to do the thing that I need to do. So now I'm happy and things are going well. So now I can pick this guy back up and try working on him again. But I start in a different place. The whole thing is we started this because we love it. And if something is making us not love it, put it away and work on something else. You know? Okay, so now the really fun ones is the gargoyle. Put those away. We're going to bring out contrast paints. So I can move the palette out of the way. Yes, Sam, I am not known for my patience. You can ask my children. I was always one of those parents. I'm going to count to 3. 1. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I've gotten to 1. I'm no longer waiting.
I can relate to that.
So one of the other things that I have found that cures my impatience is having multiple models. That treant over there, the little yellow spot that is happening, is so perfect, and I love it, and I want to make more of those little yellow spots, but I need to let it completely dry so that I can do some dry brushing on top of it, because this little spot is making me full of joy. This little spot is annoying me, and I don't like the way it looks, but I am choosing to fixate on this spot that is making me happy. I want more of this to happen, so I have to wait. So he sit over there and live his life and be what he is, and I can dry brush more on him later. So here is all of the contrast paints that I have for Citadel, and that's what this guy is going to be, is all of the contrast paints from Citadel. So I have lots of fun colors to play with. One of my favorite things is this contrast apothecary white, which is and you'll hear like 3 or 4 BBs in this guy. The contrast paints definitely need shakers in them, because they will settle really badly. You can see that's really dark down there, but it is very light. Better. Wish I hadn't shaken that one. None of the other ones are as clear. This one, you can see how white it is. Shake this down here. My favorite thing about this paint is it's the apothecary white, but it has a very strong blue undertone. So anything snowy or icy, oh my gosh, this is amazing for that. Okay, go ahead and read.
Sam says, weird, because most people say I'm more patient than a saint.
That means you have good. Before. You have very good control of your temper.
Nobody says that about me.
I am one of those people that my feelings are on my face. There is no hiding how I feel about anything. It is dead obvious how I feel. Not always a good thing.
Just don't tolerate my own. Dorky says, I need to remember that I'm allowed to switch around from project to project when I was trying to figure out where this squeaky sound was coming from, and I just realized it's because I was working on a time-lapse video. Forgot to take out the sound. Squeak was me. That's cool.
Awesome.
People all over the house searching. Find this. I can't stand this noise anymore.
What was it? off center. Oh, we went to vote today, and we opened up the door to go in to vote. It squeaked so horrifically. I was like, I just want to stay like this. It was horrible. Okay. I do have to say the line was really, really long, but it was moving really, really well. So that was nice. So. All right. I am going to put the Apothecary White where his fur is. And I know that's like really, really thick right there, but I'm going to keep patting it around. We're on to his... What?
No, I'm just listening to you go, and it's making me think of Raising Hope. Now I gotta pick the plate up and go back in the kitchen and get some more cookies.
The really fun part about this, these paints, as they dry is when they're finally dry is when you really kind of see the difference. That is something people with patience issues. The contrast paints, you need to let them dry or you move on.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture, but don't actually. Doesn't work in it.
Didn't you flap?
But I always did.
Yeah.
Like air was gonna do it, but I don't think air actually did it. I think it was just time.
Really? I always thought it's like you had to flap it to get it to finish.
No, I don't think so. Chemicals to.
Okay, so his fur is
I don't know.
all of his paint on there. Now I'm trying to decide. I think under here I'm going to use red. And then on the back side, I'm going to keep it the browns. That'll make the underside of his wing pretty.
Ooh, pretty cool.
And you absolutely can water these down. I don't tend to. Are made to be thin. Brush is about to go. I'm so excited that the Valkyrie is done. She's been driving me. It has been so hard to leave her alone because I knew how close to done she was. Don't forget, guys, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. It doesn't matter. It's not exactly what I'm working. I have an answer. They match.
Asking for a friend. Get to keep the.
Yep. We are severely lacking on our Etsy page of painted miniature. I think I have Fenrir up right now. Although, he may live with me. Because he's adorable. But we did get to keep the pumpkin that I just found. Remember we put him in the plant?
Oh, yes.
He is a new friend. I do like this. Not exactly the right meat, but it's still really. That actually startled me.
I'm inside. Samwise said he's a new friend. Dorky says, business question. Track all of your minis that you have, especially before you get them listed online. Still need to photograph them or write listing description.
Okay, so that's a little bit different than like your stuff, Dorky, because you're making a thing and then posting it, right? I'm not making anything. I'm a 3D printer, not a sculptor. So
well, I think they're asking specifically about when you do like this, when you just you don't do as much, right? Maybe I'm wrong. For the 3D printing, what Samwise is at, right? They're made to order.
Yeah, in general. So basically, what I do is, this little spot is a difficult area. So, for me, when I need to get a bunch of listings done, I have a list of what came from the sculptor, and I just go through the list that they gave me, and they give me renders, so I don't even have images that I need to get done for those. Cheating. That's kind of what it feels like.
And they are asking about like the minis that you paint like this, but this doesn't happen as often. I think most of the minis that you paint for sale are sold before, which is kind of like the 3D printing stuff, right? That's somebody's asking for a commission, then we print. But it never gets listed.
Yeah, and so that's it really is unhelpful for you, unfortunately, Dorky. Basically, I paint so little that's just a paint.
Not hard to
track.
Like
this, it's just not hard to track. The reality of it is it's in my head and I know it needs to be done. There is more to keep track of for listing the sculpts. You have one of your little... Yeah, you do, right there underneath. So, Ty makes these little notebooks where he laser engraves on the front, and then it's just a little notebook with lined paper in it. So each month I have a list of all of our sculptors, and as I get their release for that month done, I put a line through it. But as far as like this goes, what I've actually painted, he's right. 9 times out of 10, when I'm painting, it's a commission, so it's already been listed and paid for. Somebody will go on our Etsy store and say, hey, how much would it be for you to paint this model for me? We work out a price, I get the details, and then I make it, I add it to the listing or I make a custom order for them. So there's no pictures ahead of time or anything like that. Unfortunately, your stuff is very, very different. It's, you're drawing something, you're painting something, and then you need to do all of those. And it can get overwhelming. We are going to use this one on basically what we haven't covered yet. But like going back to dice bags, when I was first starting my Etsy store, I was, almost exclusively making dice bags. So that was one that I had to make the product, get the photos, get the listing, and basically I would make a bunch of dice bags and then get a bunch of pictures done and then get a bunch of listings done. It can be overwhelming. So if you're looking at it going, I have so many that I need to get done, just make a small pile and get those done. Because, yeah, there's a lot of it that will feel overwhelming. Having my little list, I know what needs to be done. It's all in my head. But having my little list where I can go makes me go.
MY says it adjusting the difference in logistics between made to order and stock inventory.
Yeah.
Dorky says, yeah, I should break them up in chunks, I guess. I feel like I have so many that I don't even remember what all there is.
Yeah. And to your point, Dorky, I've legitimately, someone showed me a picture one day of, of a mini, and I'm like, wow, that looks really good. Where'd you get that? They're like, you printed it and you painted it for me. I'm like, oh, I did? Like, wow, I did good. Like, whoops. Because you do tend to forget when it's so many, so much, But that being said, see, the wet or the white is still a little bit wet, so I'm kind of blending. By blending, I mean I'm going smash. You just have to let it not overwhelm you and just make a smaller stack.
It says also have love-hate relationship with lists. Yeah. Same. Also says Excel and similar programs like Google Sheets is free, help with order tracking. That's what I think. Spreadsheets are for making lists. I know, drives you nuts. Dorky says I sort of need lists to remember everything, but I also wind up getting stressed out about how many things end up on the list, and then I don't want to look at the list because it gives me anxiety.
So
I can relate to that.
For me, a list doesn't do that. And it's differences in how you perceive a list, and I understand what you're talking about. But try reframing it in your mind. If it's on the list, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to remember it. Because that's what causes me stress and me anxiety is I have to remember this and 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 this. And then I can't stop just trying to remember every single item. But if I put it on the list, doesn't matter how big the list is. I will legitimately write a thing on a list that I have just finished because it wasn't on my list.
Mark it off.
But I can tick it off, damn it.
Which is what I was going to say is I don't really like lists unless they have a way that I can't cross something off. A completion date or typing in the word done or an X or whatever. I feel better about it.
But it relieves the stress and anxiety of that I will forget something. I just add it to my list.
But the moment when you check something off a list, magic.
So it removes stress from me. It doesn't add stress to me. And it doesn't matter how big the list is because I don't have to remember to do it. The list will remind me. It won't get forgotten. So that's something that's just a difference in how you perceive what the list is doing. And if lists are not a stress reliever, they're a stress causer, then don't do a list. Everybody's, things work differently and find what works for you.
Oh, I just thought of a different way you could do lists for too. If you're using Shopify or something like that, right? You put everything in draft. Go ahead and enter just the name of the thing. Leave it in draft and then marking it off your checklist as you publish it. Dorky says, yeah, I'll have to try to reframe it. It does move stress momentarily since I don't have to think about it, but then I avoid looking at the list so I don't have to think about it. Yep. MY says, but I can see a list is overwhelming and anxiety inducing. I would say physically organize into. Drafts are a good idea too. Yeah, I mean, I've only done that once because it just sort of, we like took some inventory from Etsy and dropped it on Shopify in a draft state. So that was us to work on.
But the reality also is, Dorky, if I don't list these painted miniatures on Etsy, they go to a convention with me and they get added into our Shopify app usually the day or so before.
Yeah.
We've even literally added them while we were finishing setting up the table. Finer brush to go into the tighter area.
Wise is currently mad at Shopify. Ricky says, I haven't tried adding listings on mobile. I wonder if Wix can do that. I don't.
Sure.
Samwise says, a glitch with a recent update deleted all the pictures or product listing.
Oh,
wow. Yikes. I'm going to check our
pain.
Shopify.
The pain. Oh my gosh, that is so not cool.
Like we look.
I just, like I said,
that kind of made my heart beat faster.
Yeah, I was kind of, my breath was kind of catching, and it's just one of those things where I've got so many things to get done and so many things to remember to get done that I just, if I just try to rely on my memory, it's so stressful. Even things like, you know, when I'm getting prints off the printer and I'm sitting there going, okay, well, this failed and this failed and this failed and this failed. I'm like, okay, I can't remember all of these, which I usually do, but it's a little easier if I just write the damn down. Usually what happens is I write it down and then I don't feel like I need to remember, so all of a sudden it's just part of my memory.
Hundreds of colleges. In-state alone has 30 different. That is off.
My heart goes out to you because I know how much of a pain in the ass. So, oh my god. He is obviously not finished, but he is at a point now where I have to stop and leave him be. But you can see that his fur looks white. His wings have those beautiful red interior that you can see dark red, you can see light red, you can see all those different shades happen. Same with the backs of his wings. Basically, what I want to do is dry brush some white over the fur and come back in and do some details on his face and his spikies. and paint the base. But other than that, I mean, fairly quickly got a really good... He's at detail point now. I didn't pay attention to how long that took me. He's at the point for details. You know? So, we have him. Then, if she is completely finished, she is done and done. We've got the burnt metal look on his weapon, which I'm so glad I did that. I love it. I will post pictures in Discord, guys. I've got the treant that is technically done. But I'm going to play with him because I just can't resist it. Because that's what I do. You know, this is playable. This is absolutely ready to go on the table. Ready to be an NPC or fight or whatever. But he's too cute. More yellow leaf. I think I am going to give him metal on his bracers, but the bark looks really good. I'm really happy with the way the bark is, so I'm probably just going to play with his eyes, his vines here, and leaves here, and then he is done. So fairly quickly, got some metallics going, contrasts going. And like, don't think I'll touch the inside of those wings at all. I legitimately love the way the inside of the wings look. I've got all my deep colors and all my highlights already done. It looks really good. It's just, I want to play more with flesh and the fur. And then the base, of course, because the base is plain. But you can
He
see
is named Barkboard Woodman. But Sam.
But you could see how quickly, you know, the contrast paints can just fly through your painting. And then metallics are just fun. I love them. It looks so good. So I think that that was, I forgot how loud.
So loud.
And then this is kind of dried out now, so we can also see, again, one coat of paint, one coat of blue, one coat of copper, one coat of blue, one coat of gunmetal gray in the different types of metal, or different types of paint, so they behave differently.
Make these part monster game.
He's mine. And this will be going on Etsy. This, when it's finished, will be going on Etsy. This is going to be moving in next door to our
Beard.
no, not tree beard. No. It's probably going to live next to our pumpkin, actually.
Oh, so we're still keeping it. Like it.
But I have to finish him.
Dorky says, I did contrast once and it felt so easy that I thought I had to do more, so I kept painting on top of it and kind of took away the point of doing contrasts.
Well, and that's kind of what I was saying was, this guy is... It let me get the bark done super fast so that I could move on to being, you know, finagly with the actual fiddly bits, you know. I can spend an hour on the base that I love and the model still looks really good. So I really want to do his eyes up really nice and his bracers. But overall, I'm really happy with him, so I'm pretty much going to leave him alone.
Because those contrast paints are magic. Witchcraft!
Yeah. I mean, you can see on the bark how many different shades we have. You guys saw what he looked like before. I spent no more than 5 minutes putting spray paint on him to get him 3 different shades happening, and then They made their paint and they did it well. So apparently we did not get an opportunity to try these paints out, but I will on the next, which will
Those new reds.
the new reds, yeah. Because
He needs a little bird, for instance.
there I do have one that's a different model of this where he's actually it's a treant that's leaning down on one knee and he's got a little bird on his pinky, or not pinky, index finger. But on Saturday I will be painting a fairy dragon, and the reds will come in very handy for that. We'll use
Samwise did their first Alter the Stream.
finally earned enough points to do Alter the Stream, and we picked Fairy Dragon. So that is what I'll be working on Saturday, and probably I don't see any way that's going to be done. We will see you guys on Saturday. I am going to go reset prints and crash. Bye, guys.
See you, folks.